Morning, Redden. I'm George Christopher, and today is a special report. Gun violence. It's been a pressing matter in the last couple of weeks in the wake of the Parkland shooting. It can seem like these mass shootings and cases of gun violence happen every day, but let's look at the numbers. The highest rate of gun violence was in 1993. Gun homicides have fallen over the past 2 decades as the overall crime rate has gone down as well. However, the U.S. is experiencing an upward trend in violence as the FBI has reported a 32% increase in gun violence and an increase in mass shooting victims. As for the rest of the world, the U.S. does have a higher rate of gun violence than most highly developed nations, such as the United Kingdom, Germany, or Japan, to name a few. The highest level of gun violence occurs mainly in Central America, largely due to drug trafficking. El Salvador has the largest rate with 40.29 gun deaths per 100,000 people. As for the Middle East, the only country the U.S. has less gun violence than is Iraq, noting the exclusion of war, accidental, and self-inflicted violence.
As for policies around the world, Canadian provinces and territories can selectively enforce whatever gun restrictions that Canada puts in place. Canada classifies firearms into 3 categories: non-restricted weapons, such as ordinary rifles and shotguns; restricted, such as handguns and semi-automatic rifles and shotguns; and prohibited, such as automatic weapons. Some laws that are put into place are a 28-day waiting period purchase, mandatory safety training courses, and more detailed background checks, bans on large-capacity magazines, and bans or greater restrictions on military-style firearms and ammunition. In Australia, the National Agreement on Firearms have all but prohibited automatic and semi-automatic rifles, mandated licensing and registration, and instituted a temporary gun buyback program that took some 650,000 assault weapons out of public circulation. Among other things, the law also requires license to demonstrate a need for a gun for a particular type of gun, participation in firearm safety courses, and a 28-day waiting period after firearm purchase.
In addition, the U.S. also has more guns per 100 people than any other nation in the world at 88.8. With this stat has come a debate regarding how much the amount of guns a country has affects the amount of gun violence. Studies of both various countries as well as U.S. states has appeared to show a correlation between the amount of gun ownership in an area as to the amount of gun deaths. Critics, however, will counter by pointing to outlying states such as Hawaii, which has a fairly low gun homicide rate, though having a large amount of gun ownership. Americans have 42% of privately held firearms, even though the U.S. only makes up less than 5% of the global population. It is important to note that 63% of gun deaths are by suicide. While many argue that this discredits the belief that gun reform will significantly limit gun deaths, others point to the fact that 70% of those who fail a suicide attempt don't attempt again, and that guns lower the likelihood of surviving a suicide attempt. In the wake of these attacks, many are suggesting the reinstatement of the assault weapons ban, which was put in place in 1994 before expiring in 2004. The bill is criticized in 2004 because it didn't affect the overall rate of gun crime. However, the purpose for the law wasn't to affect gun crime, but was intended to reduce the frequency and fatalities of mass shootings. And statistics show that there was a significant drop in the number of mass shootings and mass shooting victims in that period. After the Parkland attack, and in response to numerous calls to action, the governors of New Jersey, Rhode Island, New York, Connecticut, and Delaware have formed the States Against Gun Violence Coalition, an operation between the states in which they will share registries of those in their states not eligible to purchase guns. The states will also work together to trace and intercept illegal weapons. Gun violence is a complicated, divisive, and difficult issue.
But it's nonetheless an issue we must discuss. I'm Gregory Walsh.
And I'm George Christopher. Thank you for watching.